Welcome, everybody, to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast. I'm Pete Wright. That there is Nikki Kinzer.
Hello, Professor Pete.
Oh, goodness.
You knew I was
Really? You're going to drop that right after I told you about the whole pee-pee thing?
Well, kind of, because you're a professor.
Oh.
You have status. You need to recognize it.
Recognize.
Pete knows what he's talking about when he's talking about syllabi.
Goodness.
Syllabuses.
I done dropped a learning.
Syllabuses is not a word, people.
Dropped a learning bomb on you already.
Syllabi.
Check it.
That's right.
Well, we're still talking about going back to school. Once again, all ages, if you're going back to school and you're struggling with ADHD, these are circumstances that will test you.
Yes.
So where do we go from here?
Well, last week we talked about starting the year off with confidence. Well, we want to start our morning off with confidence as well, right? Because if you start the morning off well, then you're going to have a great day.
This is interesting because, I think about when you're putting together your list of things you want to talk about for the show, I always read into them this way. Like, you want to talk about the morning routine, it must mean that this is something that your clients struggle with in this area.
Oh, yes.
So it's easy to jump into the assumption, well, I got a good morning routine. I jump up, I eat my Frosted Flakes, and I head off to school. But what you're saying is that's a recipe for trouble.
Well, it can be, especially if you're thinking about college, because every day is a little bit different. I mean, well, not every day is different necessarily, but if you've got classes on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, then your Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to look different than those Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And then you throw in the weekend and you've got Saturday and Sunday. And so, I mean, there's a lot of inconsistency with the schedule. And so
sure.
That can kind of screw up the morning routine. And And I think these strategies actually can work for anyone, not just the college student. If you're looking on how do I kind of better define my morning routine, try some of this stuff.
Excellent.
You may be surprised. Yeah.
All right. So where do you start?
Okay. So what does this look like? Again, I feel like sometimes I repeat myself on some of these important points, but they are important. And so that's why I'm repeating myself. There's a reason. But knowing your schedule, again, I think that, you've got to really become friends with your planner, with your calendar, really understand, on what days am I supposed to be where and what time is my first class, and really trying to add as much structure or routine to your week. Again, this is another perfect thing that you can work with on your coach, with your coach. Is trying to figure out what this looks like for you on a weekly basis, and planning around those things that you want to do on a daily basis around your class schedule. And what I mean by that is you may want to exercise every day, but you may not get to do that if you've got a class first thing in the morning on Mondays. And so trying to figure out how that's going to work and how that gets built into your schedule. So just really trying to figure out what that structure and routine looks like can be important. Now, when you're getting up in the morning, some people actually have some anxiety about, gosh, what if I miss my class? What if I don't get up in time?
That's actually what's so funny. When I first read your notes, I thought that bullet read, get up in the morning. And I thought she wrote that just for me.
Just for you.
It's not just the act of getting up. It's Pete, get up in the morning.
Get up in the morning. That's right. Don't miss your first appointment. And there's some anxiety around that, especially if you don't sleep well or you're a late night sleeper and, your first class is at 8:00. There might be some major concern. Now, with that said, if there is at all a possibility for you not to schedule classes early in the morning when you're not an early person or a morning person, then I suggest that you try not to do that if you can. If you don't wake up until 11 o'clock, then try to schedule your classes, in the afternoon. That may not be an option for you. So this is where this tool comes in, is to set 2 alarms and have one of those alarms be on the other side of the room where you have to physically get up and turn it off. It's sort of that kind of plan B of sorts. If the first alarm doesn't work, then you've got plan B, that's going to get you out of bed.
Sure.
The third point that I have that's really interesting is some people don't really know how long it takes them to get ready in the morning. So this is a really good thing to actually track, for a couple of times. Like, how long does it take you to get up, take a shower, brush your teeth, eat, all of that stuff, and track that so that you know how much time you need before you have to leave and get to your first class. And I always will suggest that you put some buffer time around that. So if you know it's going to take you a half hour to get ready, then you may want to make sure you set your alarm, 45 minutes to an hour before you actually have to leave. It's just a little kind of trick of the trade, right? That you're giving yourself some buffer time to allow some distractions, because they will probably happen.
I don't know anything about distractions.
You don't know anything about that. That's right. So, there you have that.
So that's your schedule. How do you handle your physical space?
Well, that's it. I don't know if I would say it's so much about your physical space, but I think it's important that you do know what your essential items are that you need. And so, you probably have a book bag, you need your computer, you need your keys, your wallet, your purse, whatever it is. So you definitely want to create a landing place, most likely by your front door. The less steps that you have are the better. So when you come home, you dump all of this stuff here by your front door, and when you leave, you know exactly where it is because it's right by your front door. So we want, less is more, right? But definitely having all of this stuff in one spot and identifying what those things are. You don't want to waste time looking for your keys. Just have a place for them, have a home for them, and have them be next to your book bag, because it just makes things a lot easier.
Right.
Okay, so I don't know if that's necessarily what you mean by
Yeah,
space.
no, it is. Absolutely.
That's what I take from that, is just creating that landing spot. And while you're getting ready in the morning, do be more aware of what your distractions are. I know that we want to have some buffer times to allow those to happen, but if you know that you're going to get sucked into email, or Facebook could be, something bad for you, then don't check them. Don't check them first thing in the morning, especially if you're already running late. You definitely don't want to check them. If a phone call comes in, let it go to voicemail. You don't have to get it right now if it's not an emergency, or you're not waiting on a call. Just let it go to voicemail and call those people back. But be aware of be aware of what your distractions are, and then eliminate them is what we want to try to do to make the morning more smoother.
I love that. There are a couple of just little quick tech tweaks. If there is a way to turn on, look for the do not disturb function for calls and emails and things that you can set on a timer. We've talked about this before. You can say, I don't want anything to disturb me before 8 o'clock in the morning. So I don't want any calls. I don't want any emails. I don't want any notifications. All I want, you set your alarm to wake up at 7 or 6:30 or whatever, and you're not going to get distracted by any notifications until 8, right? Until
Perfect.
you actually are ready to leave your house. That's one of those little tricks that really helps me not get sucked into anything, before I actually am ready to be sucked in.
That's right. That's great. The second to the last tip that I have for people is to set an alarm around 15 minutes before you need to leave. And I've seen people do this, not only college students, but just people that need to leave to get to work on time. It helps them just sort of gives them that reminder of it's almost time. So if your adrenaline needs to kick in, it needs to kick in now. If you're not quite where you need to be, then kick it up a step and get it done. And so it's just that reminder of, okay, 15 minutes, I have 15 minutes, and get out of the door on time. The other thing with that, I at the beginning of the year, it's a really good time too to figure out how long it's going to take you to get to your first class, and then add 15 minutes. So if it only takes you 10 minutes to get to your first class, then I would suggest that you really aim to leave around 25 minutes before the class starts, just so you know that you have plenty of time to get there, get seated, and not be so stressed and high anxiety, rushing in there like, Kramer used to do on Seinfeld.
Yeah, right. Sliding into the door.
Yeah. It just allows you that time to hopefully start your school day a little calmer.
I love it. This is good stuff. It's a good reminder. It's a good contextual reminder. You're going back to school. Think about these things in the morning. Get your morning started off right. You'll have a better day.
That's right.
You know what? We still want to hear about how things are going for you. So make sure to check things out on Facebook.com/Take Control ADHD, Twitter, Take Control ADHD. You can reach out to us just about anywhere, and we would love to hear your stories of going back to school. How's it going for you? Are you ready? Do you feel ready? You can learn more about the show at TakeControlOrganizing.com. You can subscribe for free to the podcast in iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. And as ever, on behalf of... Oh, do you have something?
Well, just one last thing. If you're, we've been talking a lot about, coaching and school. And if you have specific questions, I just want to welcome you to send me an email, give me a call, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about coaching and the ADHD student.
Well, I'm glad you said that. And there's a handy contact page right on the website where you can do that. You can just write an email. You are enabled to just write an email and reach out to Nikki directly. And she's very fast at getting back to people, so you should totally do that. And it'll probably be at about 4:30 in the morning. So make sure you have your notifications turned off.
Are you making fun of me because I am an early person?
Totally an early morning person.
I am. But I go to bed at like 8:30 at night. It's crazy.
So I think that's it. On behalf of the early riser, Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll catch you next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.